Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, DJ Just Jay with Just Down TNT, the host of the Soto Podcast. We are the AFC. We advocate for children first. I wanted to talk about something that that you guys should be familiar with. Most people that are familiar with me should be familiar with Tommy Sotomayor, as well as should be familiar with Soto Nation, as well as things that we push, what our message is, and especially something as important as the message of fatherlessness. A lot of you guys should also be familiar with Tommy when it comes to his long-standing mission is to point out, how far we have come from where we used to be compared to where we are now when it comes to the families, when it comes to the importance of men. Because Tommy, originally, when I became familiar with him, he was a men's right advocate. So obviously, a lot of the things that he will point out talk about things that show where men are being left behind. Men are not unappreciated, or basically unappreciated. Fathers, in particular, are being hampered from being able to not only do their jobs, but to be able to be productive in this society. And what's crazy about it is men. And some people can understand where I'm coming from when I say this. I got you. I'll fix it. Thank you. I'll fix it. And thank you also for the super chat from Dre to Dream. Thank you very much. Okay, chat should be working now. Okay, there we go. But when it comes to men, we don't require much. I know that we have some men in the chat that maybe can relate to this, and maybe some of you guys can speak your own perspectives as we are doing this live. This is not pre-recorded, so if you guys want to post your thoughts, you can post them now. They will show up on the screen. But I think that men have been forgotten. Men are underappreciated. When men build everything, protect everything, create everything. I'll say that again. Men build everything, create everything, protect everything. Without men, there would be nothing to exist. And I always say this when people come at me and they say that women have to bear life and women produce, our humans. But I always say this, just as well as you can have fertile soil, that fertile soil means nothing without a seed. I would say that again. Women can be the fertile soil, but the fertile soil means absolutely nothing without a seed. When I say that, do you guys believe that I'm bashing women? Because I know a lot of people don't have out there in the world, hashtag not all, but I know there's a lot of people out there in the world that have a limited vocabulary, and they'll say things like the word bash. So I'll use the words that they know. Bash. Do you think that by me saying that's bashing women or taking women down a notch or unappreciating women? In my opinion, I think no. I think that when I say that is uplifting men and saying that men are important. And I believe that there are ways that you can uplift people without tearing other people down. Where we are in this society, not valuing men and mainly not valuing fathers being second-class citizens. Thank you very much for saying that. But, when you do that, I think what we have going on in this society is that in order to make women feel important, they feel like they have to tear men down. And I don't know if you guys agree with that or not. But in this society, what we have going on is you can't build women up just on their own laurels. You can't build women up just on the things that they do and the things that they bring to the table and the things that they are capable of, right? And I think that's a bad thing if you are saying that they need to be uplifted, but don't have any basis to uplift them on. So if you believe that's not true, if that women have this elevated level of value, then what I believe that you should do is just present the things and just show them in their own light and say, this is why women are important. I don't believe that you should have to tear down men in order to prove how valuable women are. Okay? That's the first and major problem with most people's arguments about the difference between women and men, okay? So hopefully everybody kind of understands what I'm saying when I preface that, okay? Second thing is that I don't think it makes women look bad when you talk about the positivity of men and fathers. Because what you guys have to understand is that in order for our world to work in America, we live in the United States of America. Most of us only know America, and most of us will only know America from the moments we are born until the moments that we die. Okay? So in this America, we understand that we need both. We need mothers and fathers. They are both vital. If it takes a village to raise a family, then why should it not take a mother and a father to raise a child? Okay? A lot of people might be able to look at their situations and look at their lives and be able to say that, you know, if I didn't have a father in my life, I can see how that affected me. I can even hear from people that say that I didn't have a mother in my life and it affected me. But I think that there are some values in men that are elevated on its own standard that make it even more clear that the lack of that will eventually manifest itself in your life if you have a lack of a male figure in your life, whether you're a man or a woman. I know that there are some women out there that can tell you ways that they could have became better women, better human beings if they would have had a father there, and definitely for the boys, because I've told you guys plenty of times before that when it comes to these boys, that they see the value in themselves in their fathers. And if their fathers are not there, they do not value themselves. And if they do not value themselves, then they will not value others. If they don't value others, they will tear down others. And then they don't see, basically what I'm saying is they don't see the value in others. That's probably about the best way that I could say it. That's why we end up having a lot of the problems that we have, okay? So what we are looking at is from a period of time when people like to look at the past. The black community used to be a very beautiful thing, because I'm speaking from the black community standpoint, but this affects us all. There was a point in time when black people used to have the best rates for marriage, the best rates for children inside of wedlock. We were number one in the United States of America. And you're talking about at a point in time when people were saying there was racism going on and segregation going on. And so if you look at it and say that we are so far from that period of time, we have more education now, we have more access to technology now, we have more access to opportunity now, but yet we are regressing, going backwards. We are regressing in the society where, let me make sure that that's the right one. Hold on, because y'all know I got to do a channel check. Indeed, that is my brother, Tommy Sotomayor. He is in the building. Let me go ahead and moderate him up here. But I want to give another shout out to my brother, Tommy Sotomayor, because without him, none of you guys would have known me. I'll just be real honest with you. So I'm very thankful that not only is he here, but allowing me the opportunity to be in this position, to be able to even speak on this movie that he's made, okay? But again, we had the best in society at one point in time, and now we have the worst. And one would have to ask, there is a thing there that caused us to get here. The thing that I say that caused us to get here is simply our mentality. It's simply our mentality. That's basically what it is, okay? And what has to happen is we have to change our mentality. We have to change our hearts, and we have to change our mentality in order for us to change our society. So I believe that if people really want to change things, it has to start at home. It has to start with who we date. It has to start with what we like. It has to start with what we watch. It has to start with what we listen to. It has to start with what we eat. It has to start with where we work. And it has to start with the lessons that we teach our children. And I hope that I didn't speak too fast for most of you people to catch everything that I just said. If not, rewind it on the replay. Just listen to what I said again. It has to start there. Every bit of how we're going to be in the future starts at home. Now, let's talk about this awesome movie by the name of A Fatherless America. It has its own website, which is afatherlessamerica.com. Let me verify that. Yes, it is afatherlessamerica.com. If you type that into your URL, I know that there are some people out there that might not know what a URL is. So if you are URL challenged, just Google search afatherlessamerica.com. The first link that pops up for that in your Google search, click it. It'll take you to fatherlessamerica.com, right? It's a little bit of a joke. Some people might not get it. I'm a little bit dry humored. You could also go to DJJustJayOK.com, as well as Amazon.com, as well as Vimeo.com, as well as TommySotomayor.com. That is where you will find this movie, this film, a documentary, A Fatherless America. So let's talk about this. So I took down some notes. And the first note that I took down was I said that it's very telling how many people know the story of a fatherless home. And even though they don't know what a father is like, they can describe how the lack of that affected them. I'll read that again. It's telling how most people know the story of a fatherless home. And even though they don't know what a father is, maybe they didn't have a father in their life, maybe their parents didn't have a father in their life, but they can still describe to you how that lack affected them. And I want you guys to think about how deep that is. How can you miss something that you never had? Right? And I think that's very telling because I think that it is something on the inside of us. It is in our DNA that lets us know that what we're doing is right and what we're doing is wrong. It is in our nature, right? And I think that we know in our nature that it is not normal. It is not natural for us not to have the yin and the yang, the push and the pull, the mother and the father, the balance. It makes us imbalance in so many different ways when it comes to financials, when it comes to our mindset, when it comes to our choices, and even when it comes to just something as simple as our support. It really helps if we have two parents there in the household when it comes to getting us from place to place, when it comes to talking to us, when it comes to working out problems, when it comes to cooking, when it comes to so many different things. Even our choices as friends, and especially more importantly, our choices when it comes to who we date. There were so many moments in that movie that I had to look at, and you hear what a lot of people talked about is the choices that made it difficult for them when it came to who they chose as mates, who they chose to date. You know, so shout out to Alamy Ballard, who was in the movie. Shout out to a person that I really, really love a lot. And I got to tell you, Tommy, you did a great job having her in the movie. Adina Howard, man, boy, I watched it again today, and she is just absolutely beautiful. More than being physically beautiful, her spirit is beautiful, you know. But a lot of what people talked in that movie about was their dating choices. So people would know that if they go and watch the movie. Don't, go to fatherlessamerica.com and just watch it. If you haven't watched it, if you're financially challenged, you do have the ability to rent the movie as well. There is a cheaper option, right? Because everybody loves a deal. Second point I wanted to make was, and I'll tell Tommy while he's listening, the only suggestion I would have made in this movie or even for the next movie is because I didn't want to change anything at all. I thought it was great the way that it was. I mean, we could always nitpick about anything, but when it came to the portion where there's going to be some statistics that show up on the screen and stuff like that, if you guys watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil the movie or anything. But me personally, I'm not much of a reader. I need to be a better reader, but I would love to hear someone actually read that commentary, some type of voice, read those statistics. Like it does it at a couple points later in the movie, but I would just like to see that. And also, as it's showing some of the scenery portions where it's just kind of showing, maybe like the countryside or something like that. Me personally, Tommy, I would like to see the cameraman just following you as you're walking, and you're literally walking across America talking about fatherless America. Other than that, like I said, I think that this movie is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I don't want anything changed at all just going forward, we see what we've done, and then we could just do better when we do part 2, because there will be a part 2 soon, right? Now, as far as the statistics are overwhelming of how not having a father impacts us so negatively. I think it's a very scary thing when we have a way to prove what's going on, what's not. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor. You have a way to prove if you're sick or if you're not, if you're in good health or if you're not. And I think that it is absolutely asinine for a person to not go with a doctor's prognosis or a diagnosis, right? Whenever you have tools and you have things to help you prove the things that you're talking about. And one of those main things being statistics. And, what statistics tend to do is they tend to study things, and then they'll say, this is what we have based on the things that we've studied. And until we find a better method of being able to do that, I think it is wise to go with what we know are facts. I don't think it's a smart thing to argue facts. I think it's a good thing to find more facts, if that makes sense, okay? But the statistics are overwhelming of how not having a father impacts us so negatively. So if we know that we have one glaring problem and everybody in America refuses to address this problem, then I think that shows that America really just doesn't care. And really, most of our problems start in the heart and in the mind. Most of our problems are just like that. They're just as easy to solve whenever we're going through some things. Sometimes if we're depressed, sometimes if we get upset about something, sometimes if we want to take a certain job, sometimes if we want to take our kids somewhere or maybe choose not to, or a lot of the decisions that we make have to do with where our mindset is and where our heart is. And I think that if we took these statistics and just changed our minds and our hearts, I think that could also help impact us in a better way. Now, next point. I wrote that I love how people forget that the camera is there and they just speak from their heart, especially Alamy Ballard. Well, you won't know what I'm talking about unless you go watch the movie. So I encourage you guys to get this movie as quickly as possible. You can get it on your tablet. You can get it on your cell phone. You can get it on your computer. You can get it by email or DVD. Or if you need smoke signals, I'm sure we can work on getting you some smoke signals if you just ain't got no technology, right? But nonetheless, one thing that I love is when I love a person just talk, and they talk and speak from the heart, and they speak from love, and they just give you everything. Tommy presents you with a question, you just answer the question, and you just talk, and you just forget the camera is there. And I think that those are very telling moments when I'm watching it, and I'm just like, wow, that is deep. That is deep, to just listen to the person and just get lost in the movie. And I want you guys to keep in mind, I've watched this 4 times. And I still look at it and I'm like, damn, that's so freaking cool to sit there and listen to that. So definitely Alamy Ballard is definitely one of my favorite interviews in that movie, okay? Another point that I want to make, because I got a couple more points and then we'll close here in just a moment. While you guys are watching, if you'll just click the thumbs up, it'll help share this particular stream and let other people know that we're live. Thank you to the people that have already clicked the thumbs up button, okay? Tommy gave all races, #all, gave all races, all ages, and men and women an opportunity to speak on the impact of fatherlessness. And I want to know what you guys think in the chat. What do you guys think about that? Because one thing that when you watch this, and I want you guys to make your own determination as to what you think when you watch this. The only way you're going to know is if you click it and watch it. And I want you guys to tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he gave everybody an opportunity to speak their mind and their opinion. Older mothers, younger mothers, married mothers, unmarried mothers, fathers, men, young men, black men, white men, people of different ethnicities. I think he gave a lot of people opportunities to speak about the impact of fatherlessness. And I wanted to point that out because I thought that was very, very telling. And I thought that it was very, very important because we're looking larger than the scope of the black community. And we're saying this is a United States problem. And if you guys realize what we've been doing here this entire time, mainly Tommy for so many years, and me trying to kind of support him in my own way with the AFC, the Advocates for Children, because we speak a lot of the same messages, right? So I'm very thankful to be able to just be a branch on the tree of Soto Nation and just say that if you guys look at most of what we talk about is the black community, and people be like, well, white people do it too. Well, why don't you talk about the Mexican community? Why don't you do? Well, if you think about what we talk about more than anything, the issues that we talk about in our stories actually applies to everyone. When you talk about, well, what I talk about, not spanking children, because y'all know I harp about that a lot. Not hitting children, hands, feet, and other objects and things like that I tend to harp on. A lot of these things that we talk about, especially not having fathers in the communities, if you apply that to your own particular communities, then you will actually see that we do talk about all communities. It applies across the board. That's also why that you have people from other countries, other continents that watch Tommy and listen to Tommy. Because the exact same messages that he talks about applies across the board. Just want to throw that out there. Next point. Having a pastor speaking in this movie was so important. Most churches are full of women, and they can make an impact by just having the conversation of family, but they don't. Now, when you talk about what I like to call Bible thumpers, I call these church folks Bible thumpers because I believe that too many times they use the Bible as a weapon and as a shield. As a weapon against you and a shield for them. Like, I don't believe that they use the Bible in its intentional form, and that is just for us to, be better people, to aspire to be better people, right? And with the fact that pastors are literally trying to, in a sense, trying to get you to heaven, trying to get you to be good people, trying to get you to do good things. But I believe that so much of our problem could be fixed if we had mothers and fathers in the household. And I think it's very strange that as many church sermons as I've seen, as many churches as I've been to, as many pastors as I've listened to, as many of these people that preach the word of Jesus and God and all of this other stuff that they talk about, one thing that they do not talk about is the importance of fathers. I have not heard it. The only father you hear about is God. Let me know if I'm wrong. How many of you people go to church? I don't know. Maybe none of you. Maybe some of you. I don't know. But I thought that was very important to call out because I'm just like, you have an opportunity. And I'm going to tell you guys this. This is exactly why I love Reverend Jasper Williams. And I will never forget his name, even though y'all know my memory is horrible. The pastor that spoke at Aretha Franklin's funeral. And you guys know I covered that and people hated me for saying that. But I thought that what he said was so important because I said that he had the largest audience he was probably ever going to have. He was able to speak to the entire world. Everybody at that moment was going to hear him. And one thing that you guys know, if you guys are in the church, is you know that all you have is just today because tomorrow is not promised. So if you know that to be a fact, then all you can do is live for that moment. He will never, ever have another moment like that. So why not speak your most important message at that very moment? And the thing that he said is he said that our youth at that moment are failing because we don't have fathers in leadership in our lives as a whole. It has become unimportant. And I thought that what he said was so beautiful because it needed to be heard. And all everybody said was it wasn't the right moment. No, when you get a moment, that's the right moment to say what you need to say. They didn't try to contest and say anything that he said was wrong. Also, if you notice, that also reminds you of Tommy Sotomayor. They don't challenge him on what he said that was factually inaccurate. And I think that if we're going to start making legit arguments against anything or for anything, we should first put forth facts. We should start debating facts. Let's move on. The scene from the Million Man March, by far, if you guys want to know where the climax is, The Million Man March for me was my favorite part because, as you guys know, Tommy's been, in the works of putting this together for a while. And I remember when he went to the Million Man March, and I will never forget being able to watch that entire thing. And I can't wait to be able to see that again at some point. But he gave you snippets of that conversation, right? He gave you snippets of that conversation in the movie. Thank you very much, Princess. But he gave you snippets of that conversation in the movie. And I got to tell you guys this. Tommy Sotomayor is not scared to give the people the truth. He never has been. I admire him for that. It is a very difficult thing to do. And it's a very risky thing to do. Right? But he has never been scared to tell the people the truth. That full conversation in the street definitely needs to be in the deleted scenes special whenever he decides to release that. I know that a lot of people didn't get to see that whenever it happened live at the time, but I think that that'll be a very, very important thing to put in there. By far was one of my favorite moments because I looked at the woman, and I'm not going to tell you guys too much because I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but the look in the woman's face that was behind on his right-hand side was standing there listening. I think the look in her face when he was talking spoke volumes as to what his message is. Let's move on. Next point. I think it's very telling. I think it's very telling how messed up we are when women date fatherless men and then they realize how bad those men are messed up, but don't make an effort to give their children a father. I'm going to read that again because I can't even read my own writing. I think it's very telling how messed up we are when women date fatherless men. Then they realize how badly messed up that those fatherless men are, but when they start having children, they don't turn around and make an effort to give those children a father. Now, you guys have heard this is something I've tried to explain many times. I don't see marriage as an end-all, fix-all, and I still believe that marriages can dissolve. But one thing that you guys know is that women typically will ask men to be married. Men will marry the women. Women typically will exit the marriage. So they make the choice to get married. They make the choice to make the divorce. Again, we're talking about a personal choice. So here's my point about that. When it comes to marriage, it is a social construct. It's an idea, okay, of having two people under one roof to raise children. I believe that when we were doing this from the beginning of time, once we got here and once we had an opportunity to have families and have marriages from the 20s, 30s, 40s, mainly in the 40s and 50s, from the 60s and even portions of the 70s, we have glaring examples of how good the marriage social construct worked, especially for the black community. It worked for most communities, but especially in the black community. It gave us so much that we need, so much support, so much leadership, and so much emotional support, right? I believe it's a very, very good thing, okay? But when you have these situations like nowadays, when women date these men, and I'm trying to remember the sister's name that was in the street that Tommy talked to, Tammy Roman. When he talked to Tammy Roman in the street and she talked about dating men who didn't have fathers, she said she could tell the difference. She could tell what these dudes were lacking. These dudes were very emotional. They were not in tune with what it meant to be a man. Okay? So number one, there are a lot of women out there that can speak on how broken these men are. When women say there are no good men out there, well, what if I always say it here? If you want good men, what's my saying? Does anybody remember? I'm going to give you guys a moment to see if you guys remember that. While I take a pause and just say, please click the thumbs up. Share the stream. Let everybody know that we're live. People are in the chat are posting the links to buy and watch a fatherlessamerica.com, which is mainly at afatherlessamerica.com, but you have other means of being able to get there. DJJustJayOK.com, Amazon.com, Vimeo.com, and TommySotomayor.com. If you want good men, you have to raise good boys. If you want good men, you have to raise good boys. If you want good women, you have to raise good girls. So it all starts at home. So if these women are going to procreate with these men, because it's a two-way street, we're both failing in this, okay? We can always speak and tell what the men need to do. Everybody knows what the men need to do, but nobody talks about what the women need to do as their responsibility, okay? So we can talk about both things. It's okay. We don't have to get upset about that. It's okay. But if women, all women have to do is create a standard. Hashtag don't date thugs. Thank you very much for saying that. And I'm not saying that all thugs are bad, because they're not. But all I'm saying is that if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, guess what? If you know that you have statistics that prove that a certain type of person or a certain type of people, a group of people, tend to get in all of the violence, tend to get in all of the trouble, and tend to do all of the bad things that are shown in our society, then you have glaring examples of what to avoid. Everything starts with a choice. No man can do with a woman what a woman does not allow that man to do. So what does that mean? That means that the woman sets the standard for what she will accept. Why do you women in general do not accept the fact that you have this awesome, amazing power? You women are amazing. I think you women are amazing and beautiful and awesome if you use it in the right way. Stop having babies for benefits. You guys know that is my hashtag. Hashtag babies for benefits. It might end up catching on one day. Who knows? But women have to do something as simple. Like literally the red carpet is laid out for you. And all you have to do is walk across the red carpet and don't walk on anything other than the red carpet. It's a choice. Not being forced to do anything. All women have to do is set the bar. Set a standard and say, men, you have to step up to this standard or I won't date you. I won't have sex with you. I won't create children with you. I will not get married to you if you do not meet this set of standards that I have set up for the type of man that I want to be a father to my kids. Right? Everybody kind of understand where I'm coming from? Women have to set a standard. It is the simplest thing that you can do. Have standards, have morals, simple stuff. If you do that, then you will get a better quality of man. I know it's hard. I know temptation is a very, very difficult thing. I know it is. You know, I know temptation be pulling at your loins late at night. I understand. Because I have helped fulfill those needs for some people over the years, right? I get it. It's a struggle, but we also have to talk about this struggle in an honest way, okay? But it's not getting us anywhere. It's a bad thing. Like, yes, I know smoking crack might feel awesome for those 2.5 minutes. I get it. I get it. But it's causing us lifelong problems. It's causing us lifelong problems. What do the men have to do, Ivies? If you didn't hear any of this conversation, I would suggest just watch it on the replay, because apparently you believe that I said the men take no responsibility in this. Listen first, sweetheart. Gotta listen first. Listen first. Don't listen with your emotions. Listen with your heart and your mind. Okay? Don't listen with your emotions. Just listen to me. Women set the standard. Make men achieve that standard. No man can do what a woman will not allow that man to do. Therefore, that man has to achieve in order to succeed his goal, which is to be with that woman, to be in that woman's life, to be a worthy person, to be a father of that child that that woman will produce for that man. To prove that he is a provider, to prove that he is a protector, to prove that he has morals, to prove that he has simple things like listening, comprehension, and compassion. Thank you for posting that. Simple things. To prove yourself. And what I don't see anymore is women asking men to prove themselves. If you set the bar real low for men, I'm sorry, men ain't gonna jump over any higher than they absolutely have to. So I believe that men will work if you give them work to do. Make the men do the work and we will achieve. In turn, if we start having these nuclear families, mothers and fathers in the households, therefore, we won't have a fatherless America. We won't have this large glaring problem that we have in the United States of America into the republic in which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, right? If you listen, then you'll realize that what I'm saying is that we both have a responsibility. All women have to do is say, I'm not going to accept any less than this. In turn, what does that mean for men? You have to realize that most of our solutions are in the problems that we talk about. Most of the solution, well, what's the solution? If I say that hitting a kid is a bad thing, well, what's the solution? Hold on, let me think about that. Let me get my calculator together. Let me think about that. What's the solution to hitting a kid is a bad thing? Let me type that in. Wait, hold on, guys. Let me Google search that real quick. What's the solution to hitting children is a bad thing? Let me see here. What does Google say? Google simply says, just Jay, it's just that easy. Don't hit kids. Wow. Wow, like what a light bulb moment. Wow. My goodness, I can't believe it was that easy. But in all actuality, without the dry jokes, because my jokes are very dry and I don't think they're very funny most of the time, but nonetheless, most of our problems are literally in the things that we talk about. The solutions are right there. If you just listen. Women set the standard. Men must achieve. So if you make a man go through hell and high water, a man got to do this, a man got to do that, he got to do this. Damn, I got to do this too in order to get to this woman. Well, let me do this, let me do that, let me do this, let me do that. Now can I get the woman? I've checked off 100 things off of your list. It's a long list. It's a long list. Now can I have you? And she says, you know what? Yes, you've achieved. You are what I wanted. You are the standard that I set for myself. Now let's go do what we need to do. So in turn, don't you guys realize that most people will appreciate things that they work for? Am I right or am I wrong? Can anybody chime in? Or am I just talking to myself? Is somebody gonna flag you the channel? Somebody gonna flag me for what I just said? Or are you guys going to give me an honest answer? Most people appreciate what they work for. Is that true or is that not? So in turn, it might seem like you put a lot on a man. But is it so hard for women to put a lot on a man? I don't think it is. You're just talking. You're just giving them a standard. You're just saying, I'm going to just sit here with my arms folded until you do what I want you to do. How hard is that? It don't take much energy for a woman to do that. I'm not asking women to do much. Set the standard, and men must achieve the standard. Legally, they can't do anything with you unless you allow them to. They legally can't. You are protected. Right? Are there always going to be loopholes? Sure, there are. But again, remember, we're trying to save the majority of us. There are always going to be some loopholes and people that fall through the cracks. Okay? Let's move on. Another portion of the movie is, I wish the portion where Ayala Van Zandt, I think that's her name. I wish that portion in the movie would be more of what I see her do on her show, but it's her show. Like I said, I try to lead by example, but me personally, I thought that she did an amazing job just pointing out those statistics and showing how bad fatherless actually affects all of us. All of us. And I would love to actually see her like do more shows just like that. Have it with a room full of men and a bunch of women there. Just have people listening. Now, is that going to be a popular thing for her to do? No, but making a change usually isn't. Most revolutions are what am I trying to say? Most revolutions call for bloodshed. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. Three more points real quick. If you're still listening, I love listening and watching to Tommy walk around as the camera is just following him and him talk and him being so on point with what he's talking about. Like, I think that takes talent and he's just speaking from what he's always spoken from. So it's just so natural for him to do that. But I like watching it. I'm just saying, to sit there and just walk and talk and just, not trip over your feet and to be able to just give us something that was just so potent. I thought that was awesome. 2 more points. Men give all and get nothing in return. I agree with that point, that men give their lives, men give their energy, men give their money, men give their everything. And it doesn't seem like we get any thanks in return. We don't get anything in return. There is no return on our investment. And that absolutely has to change. We don't have to take anything away from women in order just to appreciate men. Just appreciate men, okay? Last point is this movie called A Fatherless America, which you guys can find. People are posted in the comment section at afatherlessamerica.com, TJSKOC.com, Amazon.com, Vimeo.com, and TommySotomayor.com. This movie is by far the best approach you can ever watch on this issue. And I want you guys to challenge me on that. Buy this movie, watch this movie, and I want you guys to tell me if you will find a better documentary than A Fatherless America on this exact issue of the problem of fatherlessness in America. I challenge you guys to do that. I challenge you guys to watch this movie and come back and tell me that there is a better documentary on this exact issue. And I just think that we need more people to speak. That's it. This conversation needs to be had. More people need to talk. More people need to use their platforms, their conversations. When you're sitting at home, when you're sitting in the barbershops, when you're among friends, when you're at cookouts, when you're on vacation, whenever you get an opportunity, when people bring it up, this is one thing I always believed, is that when people give you an opportunity to talk about something, take advantage of it. Just take advantage of those opportunities when people talk about, my kid's father, blah, 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 or whatever. We all have opportunities to bring up these things. And like I say, we can make change when we start having the conversations and we start talking about facts and when we start talking about things that really matter. And fathers do matter. And that's what we're talking about in this particular topic. I want to thank you guys again so much for listening. I want to thank you to my brother, Tommy Sotomayor, not only for giving us this product and allowing us to be able to participate in this product development from the ground up, and then delivering such an amazing product. And so far I think everybody's been extremely happy with what they've invested in. I'll say that again. Everybody's been happy with what they invested in. Outside of the people that ain't made no investments, I think that they need to not have any say-so about something they didn't invest in, right? Again, man, thank you guys so much. Go to afatherlessamerica.com, TJSKOC.com, Amazon.com, Vimeo.com, TommySotomayor.com. This is your boy, DJ Just Jay, a part of Soto Nation, as well as a thing that we call the AFC. But what is the AFC? The Advocates for Children. We advocate for children. In turn, this movie advocates for children. Why? Because we're saying that these children are missing fathers and they need fathers in the households, participating with the mothers, and together as mother, father, nuclear family. Please look that term up. Nuclear family. Together, we can make a difference together, man. And I want to thank you guys so much for listening, man. That is straight from the heart, man. Thank you guys so much. And that's the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go watch A Fatherless America, the movie. Thank you guys so much. Peace.